Oh, hi. Hello. Could I ask everybody to take their seats, please? Thank you. I can tell you where you are on the list. You are going to be just after Luke, who's Sky's boyfriend. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Can you people hear me up the back there? Yeah? Great. We're just waiting for Jackie and the girls to arrive and then we'll start. Good afternoon, family, friends and colleagues of Johan Pienaar. My name's Tony and I'll be your celebrant for today's celebration of life. It's wonderful to see so many of you close friends in attendance this afternoon, and for those friends that couldn't make it or for those friends that are overseas, there is actually a YouTube link that they can log on to follow us. Together we're going to celebrate the remarkable life of Johan, a man who truly left his mark on everyone he met. Johan's warmth, kindness, and unshakable love for those around him will forever be etched in our hearts. To his wife, Jackie, who he lovingly called my angel, and to his daughters, Tash, his big princess, Kyra, his choch, and Sky, his sky pie, you were the centre of his universe. Johan loved you all with a fierce and unwavering devotion, and his pride in each of you was immeasurable. Johan was not just a loving husband and father, but also a man who lived his life with passion and courage. Whether cheering on the Springboks with fiery enthusiasm or leaping from planes with fearless excitement, Johan embraced every moment. His love for cycling through the stunning landscapes of Cape Town reflected his joy of life and his appreciation for its beauty. In honouring Johan's memory, we acknowledge the manner of his passing. He chose to take his final flight from Table Mountain, a place he held dear. While this knowledge is part of his story, we kindly request that conversations with the family focus on the joyous times and cherished memories shared with Johan. The family seeks solace in remembering the love and happiness he brought into their lives and wishes to grieve privately during this time. Though our hearts ache in his absence, we celebrate the incredible legacy he leaves behind. A life full of love, adventure and inspiration. Johan, you will always be remembered, cherished and loved. Could we please have silence for a moment for Johan? As you probably know, Johan loved his heavy metal music, and Thunderstruck by AC/DC was probably his favourite number. Every time he would be anywhere and this record came on, he literally was incapable of sitting still. He had to get up and do the famous Johan Thunderstruck dance. If I was to try and explain it, it was a bit like John Travolta from Saturday Night Feeling, dancing like that while trying to play air guitar at the same time. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, my name's Tony. I met Johan about 10 years ago. My wife and I moved down to Cape Town in January 2015, and later that year, Jackie and Johan became our next door neighbours. An absolutely fabulous relationship to have. I have certainly never had a relationship with neighbours like that in my life. I can remember on the first New Year we had together, we weren't really up to too much, and I think Jen phoned Jackie and said, "What are you guys up to?" And they said, "Well, we're just sitting around in our flower pants." And we said, "Well, so are we. Do you want to come over?" And the four of us had a full-on party for that New Year's Eve. The other thing that was actually also quite an amazing thing, we've got a really high wall in between the two properties, okay? And it sort of started off with somebody saying, "Oh, you know, I'm cooking something and I haven't got an onion. Have you got a spare onion?" And we'd say, "Okay, we put it on the wall." Okay, that sort of evolved. I mean, you know, we would be sitting in our lounge and my wife would be saying, I think Johan's cooking lamb chops next door." And as soon as you know, there would be a message come through and it says, "Lamb chops and mashed potato on the wall." So we'd go down there and we used to do that. I mean, you're talking about probably twice a week. We used to do that to one another. It was absolutely amazing. And of course, Johan's legendary love of food is unbelievable. I mean, he has to be the easiest person to feed in the world. I don't think there's anything he doesn't like. I've never heard Johan say, "No, terribly sorry, I don't like that." Never. Okay? And he always used to have his famous saying. When he was sort of thinking about what he was going to have to eat that evening, he'd always say, "I'm salivating just at the thought of it." And that was one of his favourite comments. And of course, if we were having supper club, of which there's all of the members from supper club are here tonight, and that one of the desserts happened to be pavlova, then he was probably salivating 2 or 3 days before the event. Okay. And of course, the other thing I always found really unusual about Johan is he had the most beautiful voice. I mean, how that man didn't end up on TV or radio, I don't know. I mean, it was actually almost mesmerising. He had this really deep, rich sort of sound coming up, and I used to think it was absolutely wonderful. After I've now told you a few things about how I've got to know Johan, we're now going to call on some of the family and friends to give you some memories of theirs. And first of all, I'd like to call up his eldest daughter, Tasha. Is the mic okay?
Oh God, I don't know, I haven't spoken on a mic before in years. Oh. The cycle of life dictates that one day we would have to do this for you. I just never thought it would be under these circumstances and so soon. It was always you doing the talking at events, so I want to talk for you, but I don't really know what to say. You've certainly left some big shoes to fill. So I was 13 at that. Dad always said that there were 3 things in life that make things special. It's having a sense of purpose, creating memories, and having meaningful relationships. Judging by the amount of people here today, it is safe to say that he had the last 2 aspects covered. As for his sense of purpose, Dad said yes to everything. From skydiving to scuba diving to 4x4ing and cycling, we all know that Dad was the ultimate fitness and adrenaline junkie. I'd often tell people who hadn't met Dad that he could outrun, outcycle, and outdrink any 21-year-old. And he would, just to prove a point. He lived through so many phases in his life, and each of us here got to know him in some way throughout these phases. Dad came to visit me in New Zealand in 2019, and from the moment he got off that plane, we were busy. I'll never forget him falling asleep at the bottom of a volcano as we were about to hike to the top. Jet lag's gat. That was Dad, though. Never one to miss an opportunity for a thrill. And that's how I want us to remember him. That booming laugh, those massive hands, and those ridiculous dance moves. The sunrises on the Transkei beach over New Year with cornflakes and beer for breakfast. Skydiving out of microlights. You've left a massive hole in our hearts, Pa. One that I can't say will ever be healed, but we're going to do our best. You always used to say, life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. So Kyra and I are going to do our best to keep continuing to live your legacy by living our life. You will always be, by far, my most favourite man in the whole wide world. I love you.
That was beautiful, Tasha. Thanks so much. Okay. The next one that's going to come up to speak is Johan's other daughter, who he called Maichoch, which I hope I pronounced sort of reasonable way. So, Kyra, if you're ready for us.
Please bear with me as I try to get through the speech. It's one I thought I had at least 15 more years to prepare for. Or, if you'd seen Dad on the trails on his bike recently, maybe even 20. It's also worth noting that while I did inherit the Bigfoot gene, the gene combo for public speaking clearly skipped me. Alas, I begin. You didn't have to work to love my dad. It was easy, instant. That's just who he was. To have known him is to have loved him. To describe him is tricky. The adjectives are endless. He was gentle, but unshakably strong. A deep thinker, yet light-hearted and full of fun. I think back often to the chaotic camping trips where everything seemed to go wrong. We'd be stuck in the mud for hours, have car trouble, a broken trailer, you name it. To anyone who wasn't Dad, alles was dier in die kak. Yet, by the end of the day, it was indeed a lekker dag, and we'd all be urged to take in the sunset while he cracked open a beer. That's who he was. He was someone who could find beauty and joy even in the messiest of moments. He was also a tough bugger. For those of you who don't know the story, the scar on his left hand comes from stitches he gave himself after attempting to swing at someone who ducked, and Dad got the window instead. Not wanting to go to the ER, he sat and stitched himself up. The two things to note about this story are, one, Dad was left-handed, and that two, if you'd asked him, the person this punch was aimed at, and I quote, was someone who deserved to be clapped. In the same breath, Dad was someone who could sit quietly with you, listening and sharing thoughts. He was the kind of man you could throw back tequilas with one night and share your deepest worries with the next. He had the kind of laugh you wish you could bottle up and replay whenever you were feeling down. It was infectious, impossible to hear without smiling. You pair that with that deep, commanding voice, the kind that can make any young man meeting one of his daughters skrik, and the brilliance of his mind, and you had someone you could listen to for hours. I'm so incredibly grateful to have had so many afternoons sitting with him over a beer or a whiskey, chatting and laughing. Dad was everything. He's everything you needed him to be, exactly when you needed it. He somehow balanced all these contrasts of his into this incredible, magnetic person who was the perfect company, no matter the mood. I'm incredibly lucky to have had the type of dad that not only I, but also my partner look forward to spending just about every weekend with, and who cultivated the spirit of adventure. As a pukkie, my birthday gifts from Pa were always unconventional. We did overnight hikes, abseiling, shark cage diving, and skydiving. These were the things that set his soul on fire. Thrill, and the beauty of nature. But as Christopher McCandless, the adventurer whose story inspired Into the Wild, once wrote, happiness is only real when shared. You could have placed Dad in his favorite spot in the world, surrounded by the things he loved most. But without the people he loved beside him, it wouldn't have meant anything. He understood that deeply. Dad held true, meaningful connections with the highest regard. He didn't just love people, he lived for them. His ability to form those bonds, to make anybody feel seen and valued, was a rare and beautiful gift. And because of how personable he was, we now find ourselves surrounded by a community of support strong enough to help us survive this loss. I cannot thank you all enough for moving mountains at the drop of a hat. In one of the letters Dad wrote me once, he signed off with, "Keep on living life to the fullest." Hear his voice in our heads, nudging us to seize the day. Because seize the day he did, sometimes to a laughable degree. Tasha and I still can't lie in past 8 a.m. without hearing his voice in our heads going, sarcastically, "Good afternoon." So today, as we celebrate his life, let's honor him by doing exactly what he did best, by finding joy in chaos, seizing every opportunity, and living life to its absolute fullest. And when we hear his voice in our heads, telling us to get up, to get out, and embrace the day, let's listen. In doing so, we'll keep him with us always.
Well done, Kyra. Next up is Jackie and Johan's nephew, Reese, who's going to give some words that Jackie wrote that he's going to be presenting to us. Thanks very much, Reese.
Hi everyone, I'm Reese, Jackie's nephew, and thanks for being here. My angel, today will be the hardest day of my life, and I could stand here for the rest of my life telling you how much I love you, miss you, and what an incredible husband, son, dad, stepdad, brother, brother-in-law, friend, and doggy daddy you were. I fell in love with you the day I met you. My friend Latanya and I were on our way to a Billy Joel concert. We happened to be in the center on the way, and this guy walked past. I said to her, "Geez, check that guy. He's quite all right, and check those forearms." He was like a vision. To cut a long story short, we went for dinner before the show with some people, and he just happened to be with them. We were just meant to meet, spend the entire show together, and from that night I knew I'd met my soulmate. I was a bit concerned about the age gap and clearly remember phoning my friend Tony in the morning and said we need to meet urgently. Explained to him that I've met an older guy and that I've literally fallen head over heels in love with. And Tony just mentioned that age is just a number. I was 32 and Johan was 50. We used to have a good laugh as I told my parents he was 49 as it sounded a bit better. We were inseparable from there on. I was lucky enough to be blessed with the best and had the best 18 years with you. I will miss all our fun times and laughs and your tight, loving hugs. We literally lived in each other's pockets and were inseparable. So much so that when out at a dinner party, we would be devastated if we were put opposite sides of the table from each other. We always made a plan to sit right next to each other. I will forever treasure our memories and things we did, just to mention a few. We have traveled to the most beautiful places in the world. A lot of these were due to your absolute dedication to your work with Old Mutual. You were incredible at what you did. We would always extend our trips for alone time after. Everyone knew how much we loved our alone time. We could just be together 24/7. I will miss your big hugs and affection. No one would ever see us not holding hands or too far away from each other. I'm going to miss all the delicious food and your shenanigans in the kitchen. Those cold winter days with the best chicken curry ever. My angel was a cook of note and could cook any meal you wanted. If we didn't have all the ingredients, he would make a plan with others. We were always excited to watch the GP, playing cards and games with me, spoiling me every day with coffee in bed and just all the fun times we had. Rupi is going to miss all of his walks and ball on the beach. I will miss our long morning walks on the beachfront and all our drives. You just loved doing all fun, silly things with me. I finally got to take you rollerblading with me, but due to your big feet, they didn't have your size. Always our family joke. You were then happy to play pinball while I skated, just as long as we were together. I also loved it when you left all the youngsters behind when running and cycling. The big, strong boys loved to challenge you with an arm wrestle, then always realized they weren't so big and strong after all. There are so many extremely special moments we had. Your passion for skydiving when I met you was incredible. Every weekend at the drop zone. You were the greatest skydiver. I was terrified of small planes and the thought of jumping out of one was not an option. However, I was so crazy about you, so I thought I would show off and jump. The plane was overbooked, so we left the cameraman behind, as there was no way you were letting me jump without you. Then we went together, and that was the first and last jump for me. It was just proving my love for you. Your love for cycling and the outdoors was also your passion. You were adrenaline crazy and came to try any extreme sport. You were an amazing dad to Tasha and Kyra, and the close relationship you had with Sky was so amazing. Thank you for loving Sky like your own. I've always said a man that absolutely loves and cares for his mother is a keeper, and that was you. You loved so deeply, and your close relationship with your brother Dary was so special. I loved how you just let me be me, and when we were together, it was as if nothing else existed. You were always there for everybody at the drop of a hat, and always had that beautiful smile, and were the light of the room wherever you were, even if you were having a bad day yourself. I will forever remember your smile, your laugh, and your deep, sexy voice. The only thing we didn't do together was a tattoo. I'm not a lover of motorbikes, and one day my angel arrives home with one. I was obviously not impressed. He says to me, I thought I would rather ask for forgiveness than permission. After a few days of picture and no sound, he mentioned that if I get on the back of the bike with him, he will get a tattoo. There was eventually no more bike and no tattoo. You experienced so much pain over the last few years after losing close friends and family due to death. We both lost our moms within 5 months of each other last year, and I cannot thank you enough for the love and care you gave me and my family during my mom's terrible illness. Once again, always by my side. My heart is completely broken, and there is a void that will never be filled, but I will treasure every second I had with you over the last 18 years. You were the most affectionate and caring husband in the entire world. Thank you for coming into my life and loving me the way you did. I can't even imagine my life without you. You are the most incredible man that was ever put on this earth and loved and adored by so many. You made a huge impact on so many people's lives as we see today. Your presence was always so warm, and I've personally never ever seen so many people affected by a loss. You truly were one of a kind with a heart of gold. I would like to thank my amazing family, my beautiful daughter, my Angels colleagues, and all of our friends for all the flowers and support over this devastating time. I love being married to you. You will forever live in my heart, my angel, and I will miss you for the rest of my life. Your legacy will live on forever. Fly high until we meet again. Heaven has gained another angel. I love you.
I think there's some of my notes at the bottom there. Let's just, yeah, that's it. Okay, it's great. Yeah, well done. Thanks very much, Reese. Well done. Beautiful words, Jackie. Really beautiful words. Jackie's daughter, Sky, is going to come up and give us some of her memories as well. Okay, Sky.
Sure, this is a lot of people. Okay. I was blessed enough to have two father figures in my life, and not many girls can say that. Two father figures who were completely different from one another, but were both such a blessing in my life. When I would walk into the room where Johan was, I could just feel the love he had to share. He was always supportive and an amazing listener, making everyone feel valued and heard. I will never really understand these circumstances, the pain it leaves behind, and all the unanswered questions it brings with. It's hard to make sense of it. But through all of this, I find comfort knowing that Johan's at peace now. His love, the lessons he taught me, will always stay with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. I will miss coming to you on Wednesday nights and playing poker, even though he was always the first one out. I will miss all the delicious dishes you used to make for me, so Mom, you really have to step up your game. I will miss all the funny videos you sent to me, and of course, all the kudos you gave me on Strava. Thanks for being such a special person and having the best impact on everyone's lives. Joe, you may not have known how deeply you were loved. Your impact on all of us will live forever. You're at peace now, and through this, we will carry your pain. We will carry the pain of your absence, but we will also carry your love, your laughter, and the memories we will cherish for the rest of our life. Rest in peace, Joe, and I'm sure you'll never be forgotten.
Thanks, Guy. Okay, the next speaker is Kyra's boyfriend, Luke. Luke, if you'd like to come up and say a few words.
Firstly, thank you all so much for being here today. I can't tell you how much all your messages, your phone calls, flowers, food drop-offs mean to our family. Your unwavering support is clearly a testament to all the connection that you formed with Johan. To my family, the Pienaars, the Rays, the Broekhuizens, the Van der Westhuizens. I'm lost for words when it comes to explaining the love, support, and affection we have all shown each other over the past week. I love you all immensely. A special mention to Grant Ray. The gentleman has been nothing shy of amazing for helping us do everything that no one necessarily wants to do at a time like this. Thank you, sir. And to you, Dee, thank you for dropping everything for your girls and myself and getting everything sorted and making sure that we're comfortable through all of this. You're the best. And lastly, to Johan's beautiful ladies, Jaxie, Tash, and Kai. We're at the start of a very long journey that's ahead of us. I'm here for it all. Now, for the man of the hour, Johan Pienaar. or I simply came to comfortably call the gentle giant Joe. Joe and my paths crossed 6 years ago in 2019 when I was a rough rugrat in my second year of varsity. What started off as a firm but perfectly squeezed handshake and a "How you doing, Luke?" in a voice that sent shivers down your spine, evolved into years into a massive, perfectly squeezed hug with a great big smile and a "How's it, my boy?" Over the recent years, I was privileged enough to share my weekends at Joe and Jax's place, where times of his skydiving days made me skrik, stories of his hunting trips made me laugh, and moments in his day-to-day had us in stitches. Times like this were shared over Joe's delicious chicken curry and a glass of wine. For those of you who know the Pienaars, like Tony has said, the Pienaars love their course. Joe was a master chef of note and always left us a care package in his freezer when Kyra and I would look after little Rupia in their house. Kyra and I, and many of you, shared many happy weekends on a bicycle with Joe on the trails and on the road. I tried my best to pull away on the uphills because there was no way I was keeping up with that adrenaline junkie on the downhills. Hurgis and konties are two words that I will forever hear in my head, as Joe would say. Looking through all these photos of Joe over the past week has been difficult, but more importantly, has been incredible to be reminded and see just how great of a man Joe was. He was a real boy's boy, but also grounded on his emotional side. He was a handsome man, but never in vain. His love and laugh filled the room just as much as his big feet. I also owe you, Joe, the biggest thank you out of everyone here for giving us your beautiful Kyra, who lives a life almost as extreme as yours, but just as loving and wholesome as yours. I promise to look after her. I'm gonna miss you, big man. Your physical absence doesn't change the fact that you're forever in our hearts. I love you, Joe.
Thanks, Luke. Okay, now one of Joe's friends for a long time, Glenda. Thanks, Glenda. Let me get that out of your way. There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, I've known Johan for many, many years, met skydiving, and I wasn't only one part of his life, so what I've done is I've collected some stories from people who knew him really well and he was very special too. So if you'll just bear with me, thanks. So I met Johan in the mid-90s at the skydiving club, and we went on to do many, many jumps together over the years. And this turned into a lifelong and very, very special friendship for my late husband, Huey, and I. And even after we stopped jumping, that friendship continued. So one of the first stories is from Mark. So thank you, Mark. And some of them, there's no sacred cows, so bear with me. Johan Pienaar was jumping at the Coltonville Skydiving Club, and he was always front and center of whatever was happening. He was so enthusiastic about promoting the sport and telling everybody about it and trying to get them to come and do the sport with him. One time, he spoke to a movie-producing company for the youth. He gave them a whole presentation about skydiving and about the Coltonville Skydiving Club. And eventually they came out to the club and they were interviewing him, and then they set up the cameras in the landing zone where Johan was going to land to get some photos and a post-jump interview. So in his own way, Johan landed exactly right there by the cameras, and of course, he was his usual happy, smiley, enthused self, and he was beaming from ear to ear. And he simply just said to them, "Look, those that do it can't explain, and that those that don't do it can't understand." And that will be Mark's parting memory with Johan forever, because it was spot on, and it was said by a man highly adrenalized and highly enthused by a sport he loved. And Sean, otherwise better known as Doc Sean from New Zealand, they immigrated to New Zealand. We were once skydiving in Plet, and after a day of jumping, we decided to land on the beach. Johan and Sean landed on the beach, and whilst walking back to the road, a random, very drunk man came up to them and thought they were really, really famous people. So Johan gave him his autograph and told him they were famous stuntmen. After that, they went to Robberg Beach, and while sitting on the beach, a pod of dolphins were swimming in the bay. Without thinking twice, Johan got up and ran into the sea, dragging Sean with him. By the time they had reached the back line, the dolphins had disappeared. Suddenly, there they were, 2 Varleys, out of breath and hanging there like shark bait. They soon realized at the same time, you didn't have to outswim the sharks, you just had to outswim your mate. Another time, Johan, Huey, and Sean were skydiving in Mandini in KZN, and this is a great memory for Sean. They did the best 3-way skydive, and in their minds had ever been jumped in the history of the universe, or so they thought, but at least they thought so. Johan one time bought a big off-road 4x4 vehicle. It was probably not even 6 months old when Sean saw him with it at Wonderboom Skydiving Club in Pretoria. The car looked like somebody had attacked it with a wire brush. Johan just laughed and said, what's the point of having a 4x4 if you don't going to use it? And there were many more just day-to-day skydiving experiences, all fun, laughing, and Sean's overriding image of when he thinks of Johan is one of that big white smile and a deep, burbling laugh. Cameron, who unfortunately can't be here today, and he has sent his apologies. Johan and Cameron met in the mid-90s when Cameron was Johan's skydiving instructor. There are many happy memories shared with Johan, but this is one of Cameron's favorites. After several instructional skydives with Johan, it was decided that they'd all go off to the World Freefall Convention in Quincy, Illinois in the USA. With many freefalls from high altitude and many different aircraft types, it made for a great week's skydiving. Then the Boeing 727 arrived. Jump the jet, very experienced skydivers only, they said. No problem, said Johan, who probably had only about 60 jumps at the time, and for those who don't know, not very experienced. A typical Johan reaction, fearless and complete belief in what he could do. And off they went and skydived the jet. The parties were as good as the skydiving, and the locals embraced the event and made sure that there was plenty of beer available. The tradition at a local pub, apparently, was that before leaving at the end of the evening, one had to climb on a chair, on top of a table, easy when you're sober, and kiss a stuffed moose head which was mounted on a wall. 3 guesses who was first up for the challenge. Skydiving with Jan was always a pleasure, as his enthusiasm was boundless, and everything was possible. It doesn't end there. Leaving America that year was a bundle of fun too. Someone decided, guess who, that after spending the afternoon trying to have a drink at every pub in Manhattan, they would take a limo to the airport. Said limo had a very well-stocked bar, which was all included in the price. So up for the challenge, they tried hard to empty it before they reached JFK. Unfortunately, the call of nature became too strong, and a pit stop was needed on the freeway in rush hour traffic. So there they have Johan standing behind a dead tree, as thin as a piece of straw, on the New Jersey Turnpike, fully convinced that no one could see him going about his business. Never was there a dull moment with this man, and Cameron feels very privileged to have shared some of Johan's journey with him. He'll be sorely missed. Brendan has been going through his photos since the news. And in all the ones with Johan always has this massive smile, as we've all said today. And that's how Brendan really remembers him. Even when things weren't going so well, Johan always had a smile on his face. But an abiding memory for Brendan is when Brendan got divorced, Johan would call Brendan every day for weeks just to make sure that he was okay. Johan didn't go into anything deep. It was just a quick call, are you okay? And then he would say, don't worry, I'll chat to you tomorrow, be strong. And then the next day, Johan would call again. Yes, Johan had that smile, but there was also an incredibly compassionate side that ran very deep. That's how Brendan will remember Johan, a big smile, but also a deeply compassionate and caring person. Now I'll share some of my own personal memory. A personal skydiving memory for me, in which Johan and I would often talk about, is of us sitting in the skydiving plane on the runway, waiting for the sun to rise in the early chilly air. Then the sun would start to rise, and we would take off and watch the sun rising as we climbed to altitude. food for the soul. Then we would jump all day, and at the end of the day, after the last jump, we would all crack open a cold beer and stand around reliving the day and laughing a lot. Jan would turn an okay day into a great day. Hugh and I shared a love for Bruce Springsteen with Johan. Springsteen came to South Africa and played in Johannesburg and Cape Town. Hugh and I bought tickets for all the shows, of course, and Johan was already living in Cape Town at the time, and he bought tickets for the Cape Town show. We made a plan with Johan and met in the car park and had a tailgate party before the show. We then parted ways to go to our separate seats, only to meet up again in the venue as our seats were right next to each other. We laughed so hard at the serendipity of it all. Hugh and I, and resonate with some of these stories, had many long Sunday lunches with Johan, drinking fabulous red wine, eating great food, listening to great music, and enjoying memories. And I love the thought of Johan and Hughie right now sitting together, having a glass or two or three of red wine. Hugh, like many of us, will be grumpy with Johan for what he's done, but that would quickly move to lots of reminiscing of the adventures, naughty escapades, love, and great aching belly laughs. And much like Brendan, when my husband Hugh was very ill and eventually passed away, Johan would come to Joburg or call and spend time with Hugh chatting. And when Hugh died, Johan would regularly call me to check I was okay and coping. He was amazing. I spoke to Johan on the Wednesday before he passed, and he talked at length, as he often did, about how happy he was that Tasha and Kyra had become his amazingly beautiful young women. He was so proud of you both and the lives you have built, and he loved you immensely. You gave him intense joy.
They were some really beautiful memories, Glenda. Thanks very much for sharing those with us. The next one I have is one of Johan's work colleagues, Steph. Hi, Steph.
I know you guys can hear me, but I'm not sure everybody can see me. Because that was Johan's hello to me. Hello, Kotgat. And I had so many things to say. And despite the fact that Johan and I were exceptionally good friends, I was still pretty shit scared of him. I'm going to really edit a lot of what I was going to say, because nothing I can do is going to do justice to what everybody else has said before me. And maybe I can just say, I know all about the volcano. I heard about it. I know all about the limo. I heard about that. The onion is news to me, but okay. I'm sure Johan and I would have got there eventually. I think short also describes kind of the length of time Johan and I actually knew each other. I think we only got to know each other in 2018, 2019. So in relative terms, I'm pretty much the newbie. While I was trying to figure out the order, I wasn't sure, was it through work first, and then through cycling, and then becoming mates, or was it cycling and then work? And I just think it's somewhat irrelevant, because it was actually the same Johan throughout. I was introduced as the work guy, but that's going to be very little of this. But I will touch on the work guy. So Johan was actually my client. But in preparation for this, I went through kind of all the emails. And invariably, it was a problem. Like we had made a mistake somewhere. And it was always started the same. Dear Steph, we have a problem. I know you can sort this out. Not an angry word, not a kind of defaming type of anything, other than we'll work together and we can sort this out. On the few occasions I went to the offices to meet with Johan, you know, I was greeted with, it looked like coffee, but I think there was a little bit of spice in there, to be honest. Because, I mean, who invites you around to their office at 4:30 in the afternoon? So, I think when I got the news, like everybody, I went through the various stages of grief. The last of those stages is acceptance. But I actually found a new stage after that, and that's, I've learned. I've learned at the feet of a master how to live hard, how to laugh hard, and how to love hard. Now, if you were just to say those 3 sentences to me a couple of weeks ago and say, Steph, who does that describe to you? There's only one guy. I'm quite disappointed in that Willie Wouter didn't make one of Johan's favorite songs. So for those of you who knew Johan on a bicycle, he was never short of words. And when, you know, he ran out of things to talk about, like the limo and the volcano, he used to sing this flipping annoying song that just made you, I think Reese said, it made you want to ride away from him. I think that was his kind of secret motivation. I can attest to a lot of the talk about tequila and dancing. So I'll share 1 or 2 anecdotes. So Johan and I used to ride in the same cycling team for an event called Double Century. And one year, I think it was 2021, like freakish weather, it's rained out. So this is 6:45 in the morning now. Johan looks at me, looks at the cooler box. I look at Johan, look at the cooler box. Johan says, Steph, it would be wrong for me to go first. I think you should. That then kind of proceeded to Johan phoning Jax, who, there was never not an adjective. My beautiful Jax, my love Jax, my angel Jax. I said, like, here, Johan, don't hang around with my wife too much. You're going to set expectations way too high. But Jax was in the car. It was her chance to spend time with her man. And from 6:45 that morning till God knows when, we were on the banks of a river in Swellendam. I saw those dance moves. Yeah, some things you just cannot unsee. It shouldn't actually be, but one of my most memorable anecdotes, I phoned Johan one Monday morning. We had like a Monday kind of catch up. Hey Johan, how's it? Yeah, lekker. What you do the weekend? I did a mountain bike race. Oh. How'd you do? I had a heart attack. Yeah, God, Johan, seriously. Yeah, no, don't worry, Steph. I'm fine. I got back on. Now finished. Like, sorry for everybody in the crowd. If you ever want to feel more emasculated, right, spend time with Johan Pienaar, right? I think my final story kind of, and again, sorry, I'll it's going to be another cycling one, but we started off as 8 of us doing this race in Franschhoek. It's called the 100 miler. It was 42 degrees. Right? You could literally like feel your tires melting on the road. So it ended up being 4 dropped out, the last 4 of us. And for those of you who are familiar, the last 10 Ks is straight up to Toyscliff Pass. Right? After 150 Ks, 40 Ks at 40 degrees an hour, 40 degrees, and one by one, nah. Eventually it's myself and Johan. So it's about 7 Ks to go. And one of the officials comes down and says, you guys have missed the cutoff. Hoopa! I'm going down, back down. En I'm freewheeling down, stop and I look back. En I trap Johan. Ek het hom, hier is die ou doof. Say, Johan, we missed the cutoff. He says, it doesn't matter. I am finishing this thing. So again, in the spirit of showing how emasculating it could be, being around Johan, yeah, that's my story. Maybe just to end, to Johan's family, Dary, your late mom, your late wife, to everybody that Johan ever had a relationship, the way he spoke about you guys. You know, when you weren't listening, when we were alone, man, that is a man who loved hard. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Steph. There were some really brilliant stories. I didn't know half of those, so that was really, really good. There's next up is Kevin, who's also worked a lot with Johan, and he'd like to say a few words as well. Thanks very much, Kevin.
Afternoon, everyone. So I met Johan in 2011 when I went to an interview trying to get CFBS as an agency franchise with Old Mutual. When I left the interview, I came home and my wife said to me, well, how did it go? I said, I'm not sure, but I think I may have just made a friend. That's how comfortable I felt with Johan very from the start. We kind of had a work ethic that was very similar. We shared so many memories. When Johan was regional manager of Old Mutual, we used to sit together, and there's a lot of people here I know that could attest to this. We would have I think it was a monthly meeting, and we would sit together and do our team building thing. Brad knows a lot of time to come in and talk, and it was kind of, well, admin stuff and boring, you know, but you needed to do it. And everybody was just waiting really to get out, and because there was always some type of drinking afterwards, you know. And every say third month there would be this little team building exercise that we would do. And I'm a kind of a slow learner, so it would take me a while to get to know how things were working or new products that come out. So I would keep asking these questions to make sure that I knew. Well, my colleagues didn't like it very much because it always meant that we were cutting into the drinking time, as Johan would call it. And then I got to this one stage where we were going to go on this team building quad biking exercise. And I remember at tea time, we were about already 20 minutes behind. And Johan came up to me and said to me, Kev, I love you, man. But I'll tell you what, if you ask one more question, you're out of here. So I had to write down my questions, and he said he'd get back to me the next day to give me the answers. Johan was not just a role model for people to follow. He lived it. You know, he was also very sly, I think is the right word. He would get together and he would come and tell me, you know, Kev, Kobus says he's going to really knock you off the podium this year. You know, he's going to clap you with the figures. And I'd go, oh yeah, really? Nonsense, man. Then what I found out afterwards is that he'd gone to Kobus and said, hey, Kev says, you know, you're really not going to make it this time, mate. Yeah. And there's the two of us going crazy trying to beat one another, and meantime, Johan's just sitting back laughing. Yeah. He taught us to win as a team, though. As a regional manager, I think Johan was probably the most successful one in the Cape while he was there. We did a lot of trips with Johan. I was privileged enough to be able to do those. The overseas trips and the local trips, they were all times that I could get to meet Johan in a personal capacity instead of work. So where myself and Lorena and got to know Jax and Johan personally, which is a different side. Not that there's much difference, to be honest, but you know, your friendship deepens when you start becoming friendly with one another, and the banter starts, and all that, you know, go back to the teasing again comes back, all the wages come back. Oh, I bet you can't do this, but can't do that. And Johan was always one to wage on something that he knew he could win. Some adrenaline thing that he would always come out, and I was very, very lucky. There was a zip line in one once, and he said to me, "I bet you can't do this." And thank goodness the weight limit was I got away with it. Put it that way. When Johan retired from Old Mutual, I remember asking him what he was going to do in his retirement. And he said, no, he's going to sit back, relax, cycle all day, travel around, and read a lot. So I said, really? I just knew that with Johan's temperament, that was not going to last very long. So it wasn't long after that I phoned him, and I said to him, Johan, how's retired life? Are you bored yet? And his answer was, extremely. So I said to him, let's get together for a cup of coffee. We got together, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind coming to run CFBS for me. Johan brought something to the team, a dynamic to the team that I could never even imagine. I could never get anywhere near it. He was just automatically liked by everyone. His influence on everyone was immediate. So I thought, what's the best way to kind of sum up Johan to the whole of CFBS, to all our colleagues? And I asked them to just send me 3 words that summarize Johan for them. And these are the words that came out: encouraging, honorable, inspiring, a mentor, understanding, people-centric, cheerful, upbeat, energetic, helpful, a leader, confident, humanitarian, respected, genuine, loving, optimistic, attentive, and the ones that repeated themselves continuously over and over: positive, supportive, motivational, caring, and the one that came up the most out of everything, a true friend. To me, if I had to sum Johan up in one word, after looking through all of this, is that Johan was a giving man. He gave so much more than he ever asked for in return. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Reese is going to come up once more for us. This time he's going to be reading some words from Dary, who's Johan's brother.
My liefste pal in Boetie. I will never understand why our very relationship had to end this way. We always cared so much for each other. You were the one that got us doing all the fantastic cycle races. When Lee told you years ago, Johan, I've got you an entry for the Joburg to see, your answer was, but only if my brother can join me. And as far as the Eagles say in their album, that's how it all started. We had fantastic times together, and I will always remember these while I try to make sense of what has just happened. Love you always, Obot.
Okay, and our last speaker for today will be Tim. Tim was one of Johan's riding buddies.
Sure. I don't even know if I can see these words on this paper at the moment. Where do I start? Right. Okay, that was the wrong page. Lily. Sure. Sorry, guys, I'm extremely nervous. And very difficult for me to stand here today. It's been a very hard week for me. And when Jackie asked me to say a few words on Saturday, I initially declined because I didn't really know what to say. And I went through a lot of emotions. I was hurt, angry, confused, didn't quite know what happened. So early hours of this morning, I woke up and I thought, I have to say something. Although I only knew Johan for a few years, I think about 6 years, he was unbelievable, unbelievable. He made my cycling so much better in terms of encouragement, in terms of showing up, in terms of forcing me to ride with him. There was days I hated it because he was 10, 12 years older than me, but he was clapping the shit out of me. And it was so difficult to keep up with him. But at the end of the rides, there was Johan on top of the hills. And by the way, I hated climbing. I wasn't a fancy boy of climbing. Johan was extremely strong. He would get to the top of the hill before me, and he would always wait for me. Didn't matter where we were riding, he would always wait for me. And he had this huge grin. And he would stand there looking at me with this huge grin, and it just made that climb so much worthwhile, getting to the top. And then we did the downhill afterwards. And yes, he was a maniac downhill. I tried to keep up with him. We had our wipeouts quite often, actually. I think he had one quite recently, which he was bragging about, when he was bruised from head to toe. But yeah, I met Johan through Jax. Jax came to do a house evaluation, and she saw I had bikes in my garage. I'll never forget that. And she said, "Oh, my husband rides." So I thought, "Oh, that's cool. We can ride." So she gave me his number. We swapped numbers. We had our first ride, and it was, I'm not going to say love on a bicycle, but it was okay. It was good. It was good. And then since then, we've always been encouraging each other to ride. So yeah, it's been great. It's been really, really great. I just have a short story. We normally ride Contis, and for years I've been saying, you know, that little tower on the top there is one day which we'd like to get to, like to achieve one day. And we always spoke about it while we were riding, but Johan used to speak a lot. I couldn't hear by the time I got there because I was already knackered. So I was just looking forward to the downhill afterwards. And the ride before, the weekend before Johan passed, we were on the same road going up, and the top of the hill was there. And normally I sneak off right because I know what's coming. And I try to duck off right, and then Johan stopped. And we were riding with Lance, a friend of ours. And he said to me, "Come, let's go to the top." And normally I would say no. I'm going to wait here for you. Because I know my limits. They're not like Johan's. And for some reason, something inside me said, to the right, to the hill with him. So we ended up doing the hill. I ended up walking half. I think they rode 3/4 up the hill. We got to the top. There again, Johan was standing. Big grin on his face again, laughing at me. Anyway, we completed that. And I often think about that moment because I thought, okay, maybe something inside me knew something wasn't right, but maybe I didn't ask the questions. But anyway. And then we were doing a race which we completed on Saturday. And we had entered a race. And we were quite excited. We'd WhatsApp each other on the Wednesday, and we got the normal yellow thumb from Johan, meaning things are good, we're going. And then we heard about his passing on the Friday. And the following week, myself and Lance thought we'll meet just before the race, just to see what we're going to do. Are we going to still do the race, or we're not going to do the race? We weren't quite sure. So we met, we had a beer, and we said, no, we're going to do the race for Johan. We're going to do it in his memory. So anyway, so we arrived at Franschhoek on Saturday, this last Saturday, and lo and behold, it's 40 degrees. And Steph, I know you mentioned the story about the temperature exactly, and I've got it in my notes. And it was 40 degrees, so we thought, okay, we looked at each other and said, okay, fine. So off we went. got to about 26k mark, 27k mark. I don't know what happened. Wheels fell off, as normal, around about there, but it's just... And I think I got a bit dehydrated. And at about the same time, Lance got bitten by a wasp in his mouth. So we're both looking at each other going, you know, what are we going to do now? And it was really tough. And we were both knackered. He had taken some medicine, and it obviously had a reaction with him. And so we just looked at each other. We said, listen, what are we going to do? But there was no word spoken, but it was just a sense, like we had to. So we both looked down at our Garmin watches, and you won't believe it, but the Garmin watch had stopped. And Lance's watch had stopped. So we looked at each other and we said, we don't even know how far we're going to go, but we know we have to finish. So anyway, we shouldered up the last little mountain, and we got the freewheel all the way down again. And I was thinking about that moment, and I was thinking, I wonder if it was Johan there. And then when Steph, you mentioned the fact that he had this willpower to go, and I'm convinced that Johan was watching over us, and he wanted us to finish the race. Johan, the trail will not be the same without you. You will be a void, but we will shoulder on, as I know you want us to, and it's an absolute pleasure to have met you and to have spent time with you and to have met the family. You're a wonderful man, absolutely wonderful man, and a role model for me. In a lot of things, you were always caring about me. You were always wondering how my family was, and I will miss you terribly, my friend. And rest in peace, Johan. Love you, my buddy.
Well done, Tim. That was great. We do actually have one other person that I obviously made a mistake with. Shana wants to come up and say a few words. So there you go, Shana.
Lots of people. Hi everyone, thank you for all being here today to celebrate the life of beloved Johan. Johan was truly the embodiment of courage, kindness, generosity and compassion. His warm heart and compassionate spirit touched everyone around them, and his unwavering support and non-judgmental nature made the world a brighter place. You faced life with bravery and gave so much of yourself to others, asking for nothing in return. Johan was the most beautiful and loving husband to my best friend Jackie. Johan was truly a soulmate, and they did everything together. And my heart is broken for you, darling. Johan was a beautiful father to Kyra and Tasha, and a devoted stepfather to Sky. He had a beautiful relationship with his brother Dary. They were best friends. The bond between Johan and Dary was so special, and I know Dary will cherish those memories forever. Johan lived a life with passion, courage, and was full of love, which he poured out to all that knew him. Just a funny story that I can share with you. When I first met Johan, Jax and I used to, in our younger days, love to go dancing, parties, and I'd met Johan, and Johan said, promise me that when you get to the place that you're going to go to, you need to phone me. So I said, no problem, Johan, I will phone you. Jax and I get there, I throw my phone in the cubbyhole and I forget to phone Johan. Yo, was I in trouble. So I sheepishly, the next afternoon, because obviously I had to sleep, walked into it with Mimos. And Johan was there, but he was so forgiving, and he was just smiling and said, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Another funny story is I'm a beauty therapist. Yeah, Jackson and I were trying to get Johan to wax his ears for a long time. So finally we got him on the bed and we waxed his ears and his nose hairs, and then before he knew it, we had whipped him around and waxed his back, nothing else. Because he wouldn't let us. But he said he's never going to do that again. We are truly going to miss Johan. I know I'm going to miss Johan. He was always encouraging, happy, loving, and kind. My sincerest condolences go out to my beautiful Jacks. Dary, Sky, Kyra, Tasha, Carl, to all immediate family and all friends and colleagues that knew him. Condolences to all who had the privilege, of knowing Johan. He truly left a big footprint in everyone's hearts. If there was ever an earth angel, it was you, Johan. Your legacy of love, strength, and selflessness will live on, and you will be sorely missed by others. But many. I found a short poem that really made me think of Johan, and I pray this will send out healing light and comfort to everyone. Don't remember me with sadness. Don't remember me with tears. Remember all the good times shared throughout the years. Now I am contented that my life, it was worthwhile, because I know by loving you that I made you smile. When you are walking down the street and you've got me on your mind, I'm walking in your footsteps, only half a step behind. So please don't be unhappy just because I'm out of sight. Remember, I am with you every morning, noon, and night.
Thanks so much, Shana. You probably noticed on your seat there's a pen and a notepad, and there's a. If you people would like to write down any memories that you had with Johan, there is actually a blue box over on the desk over there, which is sort of like a memory box. So, you know, Jackie and the girls would love to read your thoughts on those. There's also, for when you actually leave to go to the bar, there's actually a whole table with shot glasses with Johan's names written on them, and I'm sure you will honour him in many an occasion with the various shots that you have there. While they're now going to bring out, well, they've actually put out champagne glasses around the outsides on the tables, and we're going to do a toast to Johan. So if you'd like to go to your closest table, I think there's one there, I think there's some over at the back as well, and grab a glass of champagne. We're going to play some of Johan's favourite songs while we're gathering up the glasses, and then we'll do a toast to Johan. Yeah, I've done.
Really great. It's a pleasure. Switch, please. This person has parked on somebody's lawn and he's very upset now.
Thank you. What car is that? That's a Toyota.
Yes.
I'm terribly sorry, just to interrupt. There's a white Toyota number plate LZ14DYGP that's evidently parked on somebody's driveway, of which they're getting upset. If they could move that car, that would be great. Thanks very much.
I hope the person comes.
Well, is it on the driveway or is it on the grass?
On the grass. He's going to the mountains about it.
Does everyone have a glass yet? Are we ready to do a toast to Jan? Yeah? Okay. If you could just turn the music down a little bit. Thanks very much. Okay. If you can all raise your glasses. Okay. Rest in peace, Johan. You were an unbelievable husband, a superb father to all of the girls, and I think you can probably see from all of the people in this room, you were a really, really great friend to many of us. We're going to miss you, we're going to think of you, and all to you, Johan. Cheers. Johan. Okay, we're going to probably make our way through to the bar. There is the bar has been sponsored, but up to a limit. So, first drinks will be within the limit, and then it will be a cash bar afterwards. There's also snacks out there. Now, for those of you who are a little more adventurous, you might want to join Tasha and Kyra for a Mexican omelette. Does anyone not know what a Mexican omelette is? Well, I'm going to say, join them and you're going to find out really quickly. So I think they're going to be, just make your way to where Kyra and Tasha are and partake in a Mexican omelette. It was one of Joe's favourites and he's going to love it that everybody is joining in and doing that. Thanks very much, everybody. Really appreciate you being here.
Oh, Johan would have been so proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Was that okay?
That was beautiful. Thank you, Tony.
you.